see how the algae and everything is growing on it. And so a lot of times they have to treat the cages or do something to try to stop that. But all that then again goes straight to the waters. Again, diseases, because all the water flows straight through. One of the huge problems we see with salmon farming are the lice that can get on them, and then those transfer into wild populations. And so again, that's one of the concerns. And then stress can create a breeding ground for diseases and for different parasites. Because the fish's immune systems are down, because they're cramped and they're not in natural conditions, they can really start to accumulate these diseases and become prone to them and then pass them on to wild populations. Another one of the problems is the habitat damage from them. So a lot of these creatures, there's different types. Some of them, most of them need anchors and need to be moored to the bottom in some way, shape, or form. So you're altering the bottom of the ocean. You also have the anchor chains that are going out. And then anything you put in the water, most people know, attracts fish. And so you've got these big cages out there. Not only are they big, nice stationary objects that fish like, but there's also feed coming out of them. So it really can change the way fish are behaving, because all of a sudden there's this big free food source out there that they can come up to, which leads to a change in the program there. There's been, come on in. One of the problems the sharks are attracted to these areas then because there's lots of fish floating around them. And then they have to deal with the sharks interacting with humans, since the divers are going in to deal with cleaning the cages and keeping fish and all that. So then if you've got fish, or you've got humans, you've got sharks, and then what do you do? And in some cases they kill the sharks. So another issue is inefficiency with feed. This is something that is improving somewhat, but there's still a lot of questions about it. So oftentimes you have to feed a lot of these marine species, the marine fish that are worth a lot of money and are the ones that are worth doing this for. You have to feed a lot of fish. So the argument that you're actually helping overfishing is kind of faulty logic, because you have to remove fish from the ocean in order to feed the farm fish. So you're actually taking the food source from the wild fish, from any other marine life out there, in order to feed a farm animal. It is starting to get better in terms of the amount of fish meal and fish oil that has to go into the fish feed. So whereas it used to be 2 to 6 pounds of wild fish in order to get 1 pound of farm fish, that ratio is getting a little better. But what they're replacing it with is soy and pieces of chicken, like chicken meal, and chicken trimmings. So there's a lot of questions about how does that impact the environment though too. So you're fixing one thing, but you gotta look at how is that then changing the content of the fish for the consumer, and how is it impacting the environment to be putting a land-based nutrient in there or feeding them chicken and then that fish and stuff going into other fish's diets. So one of the things that I think is important to think about too is the trade dynamics that are going on right now. Currently, we have pretty high standards in the United States for what we farm, and that falls into line with our fishing and our fish farming. So we have pretty high environmental standards, what we produce is pretty good. So we can sell that abroad for a pretty high price, especially the countries that have high standards for the import, like the EU and Japan. So a lot of what we do is we export 70% of what we're growing here. And in return, because we have low standards for what we import a lot of stuff from China and Thailand and Ecuador, and a lot of that we don't really inspect either. We inspect less than 2% of what comes across our borders. So I would warn you well before you take a bite of the Mexican border fish to think about where it's coming from. So given this trade model, there aren't many guarantees that the farm product will actually stay in the United States. And given the fish farms that we have so far, mean, I can't really afford that. I work in a nonprofit. So the chances that I would ever get to do that are pretty slim. So again, I want to talk a little more about what's actually going on here then in Hawaii. And these are where the sites are. I'm going to go into detail on each of them. Food Law Foods has been around the longest. I'm going to grab my cheat sheet real quick. It started off as the Hawaii Offshore Aquaculture Research Project in 1998 with Charles Lee. So it started out as a research project and got federal money, state money, and then turned into a commercial operation. It was, from this, it's also spawned off some people interested in opening up Hawaiian state waters to ocean fish farming. A couple guys were very involved in that, Corbin and John Green and Keith. They're instrumental in shaping policies that have now opened up state waters to ocean fish farming. So this is the nation's first commercial offshore aquaculture facility. And the state of Hawaii, by the way, opened up its oceans to fish farming in 2001. And this is now, it's now called Gumapac Farms. It went from being called Kate's International in 2006. It was bought by Grow Fish Farm, and they go by the brand Gumapac Foods. So it was 2 miles off Avon Beach. Right now it's 20. How'd you say it?
Emma.
Gonna do that right tomorrow night. So right now it's 28 acres, and it wants to expand to 21 or 61 acres. Whenever they originally did this, they didn't have to do environmental testing. They only did environmental assessment. And now that they're expanding, they're only doing environmental assessment again because they're saying, oh, you're wrong. So sorry about that. That also includes the buffer zone. One of the things when we were looking into this, we found out that it's also located right within a dumping zone, this dumping area is the purple stuff, and the red lines are sewage outfall pipes. And the brown over here is the I'm not a scientist, so I can't really say this with science certainty, but I think it might be difficult to really monitor the water quality around a fish farm and really determine what's coming out of it if it's in a dumping zone. So, yeah. Right now it has four at least 3,000 cubic meter tubes, and it wants to increase to 6,000 cubic meter tubes. Its current capacity is 1.2 million pounds per year, and wants to quadruple that out to 5 million pounds per year, and they're producing oil. How many people do you think they employ? If you haven't read the documents yet. How many people do you think one of these fish farms employs?
15.